Picture this. You are standing on the sun's golden surface, but the ground beneath your feet is flowing like thick, hot honey. One step north, and time itself begins to warp, tearing the star apart from inside. On Earth, a day is 24 hours. It is our anchor. But on the sun, time is a predator that creates cosmic chaos. How long is a day on something that doesn't even have a solid surface? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is a liquid nightmare. Today, we are measuring something that technically shouldn't exist. We are going to look at the broken clock of our solar system. You will see how different parts of the sun live in different times. And most importantly, you will see how this invisible motion builds up energy until something snaps. It is a story of physics, mystery, and a constant threat to our digital world. Are you ready to lose your sense of time? Subscribe to Beyond Explained for more cosmic mysteries. Hit the like button to support our journey. Let's go back to the early 1600s. A man named Galileo Galilei is sitting in a dark room. He isn't looking directly at the sun. That would be painful. Instead, he projects its image onto a piece of white paper. He sees tiny dark wounds on the glowing disk. We call them sunspots. Galileo notices something strange. These spots move. Day after day, they drift across the surface. This was the first proof that the sun actually rotates. But then, the mystery deepened. Later, astronomers noticed a glitch in the system. Sunspots near the middle of the sun move faster. Imagine watching a marathon where the runners in the middle lane are sprinting while the runners in the outer lanes are walking. It didn't make sense. If the sun was a solid ball, every part should finish a rotation at the exact same time. But the sun was hiding a secret. It wasn't a solid ball at all. It was something much more unstable. Here's the first big fact you need to grasp. There is no ground on the sun. Zero. None. If you tried to land a ship there, you would just sink forever into a glowing fog. The sun is a ball of plasma. Think of plasma as a gas that has been kicked so hard by heat that its atoms fell apart. It is a soup. It is an ocean of electrically charged soup. Because it is liquid-like, it doesn't have to rotate as one piece. This leads us to what scientists call differential rotation. It is a fancy term for a simple, beautiful mess. Imagine trying to measure the rotation of a giant cloud of steam. Where does the day start and end? On Earth, the North Pole and the equator are locked together by solid rock. On the sun, they are disconnected. Does it feel weird to think about a world where your feet move faster than your head? It's real. So let's talk numbers. If you are standing on the sun's equator, a single day lasts about 25 Earth days. But if you move up to the poles, a day stretches out to 35 Earth days. A 10-day difference. It is the ultimate jet lag. If you lived on the equator, you would age in solar days much faster. But wait, if the middle is winning the race, what happens to the strings holding the sun together? What happens when one part of a star tries to outrun itself? Physics stops being interesting and starts being dangerous. To understand the danger, we need to look at the sun's veins. The sun is filled with magnetic fields. Think of these fields like invisible, glowing neon threads that poke out of the surface and loop back in. Under normal conditions, they are organized. No, magnetic fields are literally glued to the solar fluid. They must move. When the equator rushes forward, it drags those threads with it. The result? The magnetic lines start to stretch. They wrap around the sun like a ball of yarn that a cat has played with for too long. They get tangled. They get knotted. They get frustrated. Can you imagine the tension building up in those invisible, powerful lines? Think of a rubber band. If you hold one end and twist the other, the band gets tighter and tighter. On the sun, these loops are thousands of miles wide. We see them as giant arches of fire called solar prominences. The sun is literally choking itself with its own magnetic fields. The energy in these knots is immense. We are talking about the power of millions of nuclear bombs, all held back by a single magnetic thread. Eventually, the rubber band has to snap. When the tension is too much, the magnetic lines do something violent. Scientists call it magnetic reconnection. I call it the snap. The lines break and instantly move into a new shape. Boom! A massive explosion of light and X-rays blasts into space. This is what creates a solar flare. But sometimes it's even worse. The sun throws 1 billion tons of its own hot plasma into the void. This is a coronal mass ejection, or a CME. It is like a solar sneeze traveling at millions of miles. And if Earth happens to be in the way, well, that is when our modern world gets an expensive wake-up call. Have you ever wondered why your GPS glitches or your satellite TV cuts out? You are feeling the results. Let me tell you a story from 1859. An English astronomer named Richard Carrington was looking at the sun. He saw two patches of intense white light. He was witnessing the largest solar storm in recorded history. 18 hours later, Earth's magnetic shield was hit. The northern lights were so bright they were seen in the Caribbean. Gold miners in the Rocky Mountains woke up and started making breakfast because they thought it was morning. But the technology of the time, the telegraph system, went haywire. Telegraph wires sparked, giving operators shocks and starting fires. If a storm like that hit us today, it could turn our high-tech cities back into the Stone Age for months. You might be wondering, does this chaos go all the way to the center? Surprisingly, no. Things are peaceful there. Beneath the boiling outer layers, there is a radiative zone. The inner core rotates steadily, like a solid ball. It is only the outer third that is doing this crazy dance. There is a thin transition layer called the tachocline. It is the boundary between order and chaos. It is like a thin sheet of ice sitting on top of a rushing river. The sun follows a rhythm. Every 11 years, the magnetic fields get so tangled that the entire poles actually flip. North becomes south, and south becomes north. During this solar maximum, the sun is having a fever. Then it settles down for a few years of solar minimum before starting the whole messy process again. Isn't it strange that our life depends on something so inherently unstable? Let's go back to our observer. A day on the sun isn't a single number. It is 25 days at the equator and 35 at the poles. It is a world where time is fluid, where the sky is filled with magnetic chains under immense pressure. The friction caused by these different speeds is what powers the most violent events in our solar system. Without this broken clock, the sun would be a much quieter, boring place. No, it would also be safer. We take the constants of our lives for granted. We assume a day is 24 hours because it's just how it works. But Earth is an exception. The sun shows us that stability is a fragile gift. We are guests in a strange neighborhood. A man in a high-tech white matte spacesuit, golden mirror visor, and Beyond Explained logo walking away from the camera into a bright golden light of sun core. Looking back once. Single video variant only. If you enjoyed this liquid secret, hit like and subscribe to Beyond Explained. See you next time.